while you're getting settled, think about, who else should be on this call? Because this is going to be an incredible call. People are going to thank you for inviting them to this call. You're going to make their lives better. So it's not private. You can just send it out to anyone you want. Have them join this call. The more the merrier. We have closed captioning on this call. There's a little CC, and so you can use closed captioning. And we encourage you to use the chat. Go ahead, you can try it out. You can even say, hi, I'm such and such from this place. And for questions, jokes, etc. So welcome. There are, let's see, there's 466 people. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. This is like the early vote. We want to reward people who get there early. And my name is Billy Wimsett. I am so proud to be the executive director of the Movement Voter Project. And some of you are probably new to Movement Voter Project, so welcome. And we're all feeling so many things right now, aren't we? Like exhaustion. How many people didn't sleep? Write in the chat if you slept. That was very good decision to sleep last night. But we're all feeling so many things right now. Exhaustion, heartbreak, because we needed a landslide so bad. We needed to win the Senate and we didn't win it. And we're heartbroken. And there's so many things we needed to win down ballot that we didn't win. And it's a lot of people are devastated and heartbroken by all the things we didn't win. And we're also celebrating because we won the biggest, most important thing, which is going to be announced relatively soon. So there's a lot to celebrate. And we're also waiting for the results. And it's so anxiety producing to wait, but they're coming. The votes are being counted. We are counting every vote. So, and really the most important thing that I'm feeling right now is so much gratitude for everyone who came together to make this miracle happen. So just, I mean, so much gratitude for everyone on the team. Some of them you'll see today, many more you won't, who work behind the scenes to make the magic happen. We have an incredible team at Movement Voter Project who's been working their hearts out to make this happen. And of course, our local partners who really did the work to win. And we just had the honor of moving the money. And of course, the donors who really moved the money to the groups to make it all possible. And all our friends and all our allies in the movement and donor organizing, just so much gratitude. Thank you so much. We did this together. And I actually want to invite everyone. Everyone on this call helped make this happen, and all the people we're connected to. And I want us to own that. So write in the chat or say out loud, I made it happen. Say it with me, I made it happen. Say it with me, we made it happen. Because we didn't do it alone, we made it happen, right? Say it with me, we made it happen. You can write it in the chat. We made it happen. I made it happen, we made it happen. I did this. We did this. We can own this. This wasn't Biden. This wasn't politicians. We made this happen. So we have to own that. We have to own that. And pretty soon you're going to hear from our state advisors, our incredible, brilliant, talented state advisors from all the states, you know, from Arizona and Wisconsin, all the states you want to hear from. But first, I'm going to pass it to my really brilliant colleague, Sid Yang, who's both a donor organizer and an organizer and senior healing justice advisor to the Movement Voter Project. And Sid has been helping us internally and has been helping so many of our groups through the trauma of this pandemic, and is like, if you don't know Sid already, your life just got better meeting Sid Yang. Just ask Sid Yang to say a few words to ground us before we get into all the details of the statements. So Sid?
Yeah, thank you, Billy. So here it's the day after, right? I know for myself, I've been like waiting until I'm like November 3rd and I couldn't think past that, right? And here we are the day after and we're still here. And it's such a gift, and it's so energizing to be in this space with all of you and have this space to land into, again, the day after. And to be a part of this community is transformative. And it's like sitting in a big bundle of sunshine. So I want you to feel that sunshine, and I'm going to read a short grounding prayer, invocation, acknowledgement as we lean into this moment. So I want to begin with several acknowledgements that we are here in this moment, in this expansive moment of 2020, November 4th, 2020 of this year, this cycle. And specifically on the West Coast, 1:07 p.m., because things are changing minute by minute as we're speaking and as we're gathered. And so in this moment, we, all of us, MVP, we are inviting each other into dreaming forth the possibility and the possible within what has seemed or was impossible. And we are not the first to do this. So I want to begin with acknowledging that the wins and challenges right now are playing out on Indigenous land, right? We live on and work on and breathe on and create on Indigenous land. And as we breathe together, may we hold sacred the original and continued stewards of this land. I'm on Tongva land here in Los Angeles. Do you know the Indigenous peoples of the land that you reside on and work on? This is an invitation to find out if you don't know. Get connected. And may we in this moment be honoring the decolonial and expansive and liberatory visions that they held and hold for this land together. And we are also breathing with the sacred bodies, the blood and tears of Black enslaved peoples whose hearts and fierce, unwavering dreams of liberation in the face of so much of the impossible continues to shape what we collectively dream into as possible today. And we are also breathing with and honoring the many organizers and volunteers whose hearts and bodies have been on the front lines for so much of this past year and longer, right? And whose powerful visions of possibility are guiding us forward. And we are absolutely in a liminal moment. And it's of deep and complex uncertainties, some known, some becoming known, some that will remain as uncertain. And even so, this moment is full of creative and generative possibilities. Can you feel it? It's rising, right? Can you begin to see it? Are you starting to see it around you? It's there. And so as we ground together in this moment, I invite us to take a collective breath together. Breathing in, we bring awareness to our fears and that which we cannot control. And breathing out, we root into liberation and the power of dreaming forward together into collective possibility. And to remember, growth takes time. Trees don't grow overnight. I wish they did, but they don't. It takes time, and it requires many seasons, many cycles, and a lot of tending and care for all of the things that are growing and rooting to become. So it's an honor to be here, to be grounded together with you, and I hand it back to Billy.
Yeah, as important as getting Donald Trump out has been, the work we're doing together is so much bigger than getting Donald Trump out. And we know that. Even getting Donald Trump out, as important as that is just one step toward all of the transformation, all the deeper transformation that this culture and society and country needs. So we have to be grounded in that, in our purpose and values. And I'm going to pass it to my colleague Myrna, but I just want to say one big framing thing first, which is, going into this election, we had really high hopes We're going to win big. We're going to win the Senate too. We're going to win a bunch of down ballot stuff and flip chambers. And we're going to announce today that we are launching the campaign for a progressive decade, to make the 2020s a progressive decade. And so it's been really devastating to see that we're not in that world, and humbling. And I was just really, feeling my own kind of heartbreak about that, and imagining other people's both joy and heartbreak today, and thinking about the other side and how motivated the other side is going to be, and the danger that we're in over the coming weeks and months and years is that our side will be kind of paralyzed, demobilized, a little bit like, I don't know what I should do. Like, kind of, we lost the playbook. Like, we had this really clear goal, and now it's like, now it's our goal. It's confusing. The other side is going to be fighting like hell for their goals. And part of what my humbling realization was, is like, no one's going to hand us a progressive decade. We have to work for it. We have to fight for it. We have to organize for it. We have to organize for our progressive decade. And, I had this kind of dream I started talking about with people internally, like, we raised 100 million for this Trump election cycle. Like, let's try to raise another 100 million in the off cycle. And the truth is, seeing where the country's at and how much organizing is needed, we're going to need to raise 200 or 300 million, or a lot. We're going to need to raise a lot more than our goal was before. So I know everyone's exhausted right now. Everyone needs a break. You don't want to hear about one more big thing that's needed in the world. So take some rest, take a break. But when we come back, this is the work we have to do. We did an incredible job. We organized 30,000+ people to all together move this money to support these groups. In the next chapter, we have to build on that success. We were incredibly successful. Our local groups were incredibly successful. They proved their theory of change, their model. A lot of these races that are close only happened because of the work that they did. They proved themselves. And the next phase is going to be about us doubling down our organizing more people, more money, to give them all the support they need, and to give it to them early, not waiting to the last minute, because we have to make these early investments in all these counties, in all these groups, in all these new techniques to take our organizing to the next level, and to give the groups the support they need. And together we will build a progressive decade. That is something that we will do. And thank you for being on this journey with us. And I'm going to pass it to my super incredible colleague, Mirna Orozco, who, if you don't know, is kind of behind the scenes supporting all the states, leading on the grant making, and is from the Midwest and lives in Texas. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Mirna.
Thanks, Billy, and thanks everyone for all of your support, and just amazing solidarity throughout this time, because 2020 has definitely been such a year, a crazy year. We've had highs, we've had lows, and now we're in the middle of what many of our groups have been preparing for, which is tight elections, preparing to defend what's happening in Wisconsin and in other places. But before we get to letting all of our amazing ground team and state advisors talk a little bit about the victories in their state, I want to just share with you how grateful and thankful I am. I was writing a love letter to Arizona earlier today, just at marveling at that victory that is 10 years in the making. And I don't want to steal Corina's thunder, because she's going to talk to us a lot more about that. But I want to share with you all a message that I got from one of the biggest groups in Arizona, thanking us, because I think this is a grounding moment that and similar theme that you all have been sharing, that you made this happen, that we all collectively made this happen. And this message says, thank you for your support and early investment. Thank you for fighting for us in circles I know don't see us. This is such a community victory. You're part of that. We organize here together, and all of the work is the foundation of this moment. So congratulations to you too. And I think that that's incredibly testament to the work that folks are doing, right? The victory and the investment in Arizona didn't happen overnight, and we're going to get to see a lot of that and talk a little bit more about the groups. But it's just really exciting to see that a lot of the organizing that started 10 years ago led to this victory last night. I'm also just really incredibly excited, as Lily mentioned. I'm from the Midwest, and Cori Bush won in Missouri last night. Super excited about that. She will become the first Black woman to represent the state and ever, and was really excited to see that. I got to work in a poll yesterday, and 90% of the people that were coming in here were all young people, which is also really exciting. The youth voter turnout in the state of Texas alone was over 600% more than it was in 2016. And that just speaks to the work of so many amazing grassroots groups and organizers that were really out there talking to young people. I know and hope to hear from Roxana, who leads Student Power, as well. I'm trying to rep with my Vote Mob shirt today, and all the others of like the amazing work that folks did on the ground. So and we're going to be passing it to each of our state advisors to give you a little bit of a report from the field and kind of what's happening, especially y'all can see Jamila in Michigan right now, Katie in Pennsylvania, Rima in Wisconsin, just to tell us a little bit more. But I want to go ahead and also pass it over to Naomi from our donor organizing team, because a big part of what you're going to hear from all of the groups and the folks from the state team was made possible because of a lot of the work as well from our donor organizing team and being able to move over $100 million to the field, which is amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Naomi, and then we'll get into the states.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to see all of your faces. I haven't spent an election night alone in my house with my partner in a really long time. And it's really wonderful to be here in community with all of you. I want to reiterate what Myrna just said off the cuff, which is that collectively we moved over $102 million to groups between 2019 and the election. That's an enormous amount of money for these groups. And the vast majority of them were working in the states that we've all been nail biting, watching, which way is it going to go? How is it going to be, right? These are all places where it's really close and where the efforts that our groups put in to build deep and long relationships with folks who really haven't been targeted or mobilized by the Democratic Party historically, they're really paying off. In the places where we won, it was close. In the places where we lost, it was also close, and it wouldn't have been close without our group. So I just want to really appreciate everyone who dug deep, who organized all their friends. And we're going to have to keep going, right? We know that this work didn't end with this election. In some ways, we're really just beginning, right? Like, yes, we're not launching the progressive decade in the way that we sort of thought it would be this big dreamy thing. And like, we're doing it, right? Here we are, like this work is moving forward. Our groups are not backing down. So I wanted to say now we're gonna move into the call. You're gonna hear amazing stories. We've already raised $500,000 specifically for Defend the Election work. We have a Defend the Election fund that's going to do things like support work that our Wisconsin groups are going to do around the recount there. It's going to support whatever needs to happen in Michigan, and certainly lawsuits and more in Pennsylvania. We'd love to raise another $5 million to ensure that that work happens and take us into the next phase. We'll talk more about that later. But in case you need to leave early, I want to tell you our two big asks for you are to give today, if you can, to our Defend the Election Fund, and to organize your people now to make sure every vote gets counted, and to let them know that one of the ways they can do that is to support this fund. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Myrna.
Thanks so much, Naomi, and for the donor organizing team and everybody on this call who made that happen and possible. Really excited to be able to see how many groups went into the election, funded because of all of the work that you all did. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our first state, which is Arizona. Our amazing state advisor, Corina, there. And just a note to all of the folks that have been mentioning, like, what about the work that you all have done in other states? We'll get to hear about that as well, including from folks that are on the ground right now in some of the battlegrounds. And we'll talk a little bit about that and hear an update from state advisors in those places as well. So hang in there. We'll get to all of these important places, but wanted to start it off with one of the biggest victories of yesterday, and that's in Arizona. So Corina, our state advisor there, so go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Awesome. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I'm just, disclaimer, I'm really tired, but I am here. I have my coffee in hand. And so excited to be sharing and talking about some of the results. And I just want to, before I start talking about Arizona, acknowledge that, the presidential race hasn't been called yet. There's states that haven't been called and races that haven't been called, and they're close, but we are manifesting and we are putting positive energy out there and actually creating the space for folks to hear about some of the numbers in the state and also to hear about some of the wins, because I think our partners on the ground deserve to be uplifted because they've really been able, they were the ones that were able to make all of this happen along with everybody on this call. So with that, Arizona's blue. Oh, so we are so excited. Our presidential hasn't been officially called, but I've been in conversations with our state tables and partners across the state who have been working on projection models for weeks leading up to the election and taking every consideration down to how ballots would be counted based on how, the returns and the trends of, early votes leaning Democrat, in-person voting leaning Republican, and then the last batch that would be reported would be folks, voting last minute, dropping off their ballots, and some mail-in ballots, which would also lean Democrat. So we are pretty confident that we will have a Biden win in Arizona. Same thing for Mark Kelly's race, which is the state Senate race. We will have 2 Democratic senators in the state for the first time in a long time, if it hasn't happened before, I'm not sure. But, this has been, make no mistake about it, that this victory belongs to the groups on the ground in Arizona. This has been, like Mirna mentioned, a moment in the making for the last decade. Since the passing of a bill that many of you all may know, SB 1070, and I talk about it all the time, like, why are you giving us a history lesson? Because we need to understand where we came from in order to understand where we are and where we're going. So we came from this moment, a lot of our organizing was galvanized from this moment of hate and attack from our state lawmakers and policymakers. But at that time, our leaders had a choice to make, and which was either to live in fear or to stand up and fight. And that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years, is fighting back on the streets, at the state legislature, fighting back against policy, and at the ballot box. We've been flexing our muscle every single cycle, progressively moving the needle to get us to the moment that we're in. And in 20, we've gotten rid of Russell Pierce, the author of SB 1070. We got rid of Joe Arpaio. We passed so many pro-people, I call them pro-people laws, like the minimum wage campaign. And in 2018, we solidified ourselves as a purple state. And now we've made the shift. And that has been because of all of these amazing groups on the ground: Lucha Arizona, Mi Familia Vota, Chispa Arizona, Our Voice, Our Vote, Indigenous people like Danae Care, Black Phoenix Organizing, so many. And as you can see behind me, I have everybody's shirts. They were all lined up here because I don't do sports, but I do organizing. So I have so many shirts, and I rep my partners. So got my Chispa shirt on, and that's how I get down. So I am so excited to be part of this community. And yesterday, I was out seeing at the polls, seeing people go out and vote. I was on the back of a flatbed truck with a banda, live banda. It's a regional Mexican band going through West Phoenix, reminding people to go out and vote. And all our partners were out doing different things. And I just saw a video of this voter literally leaving his car in the parking lot, and one of our election protection people running to the car to go park it as he dashed into the pool at 6:59. So these are the types of things that, you know, the culmination of a decade we saw yesterday. But, you know, just to give you some numbers, so that's the history, and shout out to all the partners. I'll put a link in here of a live that one of our partners will be of a press conference with all of the groups that's going to be happening soon. But just to give you right now some of the numbers in Arizona as of 1 p.m. today, or 1:30, Biden leading 51 to 40.6% with 86% of the vote, and then reporting, and then Mark Kelly 53.4 to 46.6 with 82% of the vote. We have a lot of opportunity, of other opportunities to gain back our power, and I have no doubt manifesting again that we will be able to do that. It's going to take time, possibly up to a week, for us to know if we were able to flip the state house. So for those of you who don't know, we're 2 seats away from flipping the state house. There's a few important districts that we're watching that are very close right now, which we think that we will potentially pick up. And then we also have a House race, which we have the Democrat leading in right now, Geraldo Bernini, going to take out Schweikert. And on a local level, we have so many amazing wins. So we had our first Pima County recorder, our first Indigenous Pima County recorder in the state. And so super excited about that. She was actually a fellow with Instituto, one of our partners, last year, and now she's an elected official. So that's super amazing. And we legalized marijuana in the state of Arizona last night, and we passed one of the most exciting and progressive ballot measures that we have ever in the state, which was Prop 208, the Invest in Education, my sign from 2018, initiative, which will tax anybody making over $250,000 as an individual, or couples making $500,000 over or more, and that revenue will go into the education system here in Arizona. So I just have the chills. I don't know how, maybe because I'm running on caffeine, but emotions, but just so much. And county recorder races, Maricopa County race was called for our Democratic candidate, which is amazing. Mass Liberation Arizona, Lucha Arizona, Poder, been pouring their hearts into this race. Julie Gingle, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, the Democrat, has won and been declared the winner in that race. Results, Pima County recorder results. So just across the board, we have pushing policy. We'll be holding them accountable, of course, and that's where the work continues. But yeah, what comes next is the next week is being vigilant, staying calm, continuing to manifest, but understand that we have a week to call a lot of these local races for the state legislature, and checking in with our team, seeing anything that they may need. We're going to continue to need support to make sure that we can protect these results. And going into the progressive decade, we need to hold Arizona. So we need to do everything we can to protect these seats in the future. But I will stop there because I've been probably talking for longer than 5 minutes. But thank you all so much. And go Arizona.
Thank you so much, Corina, and to all of the groups there for all of the amazing work. Wanted to get us started off with that amazing victory to keep us hyped throughout the rest of this call. I'm going to go ahead and also pass it over to Caro Ramirez, who's led work in some awesome states, including Nebraska, which I hope was all on your radar. And we want to give a quick update from there as well. And then we'll give it over to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, so you can hear from state advisors in those states too. So, Caro?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to see y'all's amazing faces. I want to start grounding in my abuelas and all of the folks that have been organizing year round that have gotten us all to this moment. I am going to talk about Nebraska. I do want to give a quick shout out to Texas. I know that there were definitely some things that we're really bummed about, and me being a Texan was just very, very sad. But I do want to ground us in, give a shout out to groups like Texas Rising, Move Texas, Faith in Action, organizers in Houston, and Mi Familia Votan. And just, we had over 11 groups all across Texas really throwing down. Yesterday, there were empanadas, there were mariachis, and there were young people of color walking to the voting booth for the first time. I got a story from one of our folks that said that young people were walking outside of the polling booth and saying, like, we are first-time voters, like, we are first-time voters, and walking out of that and like running to their cars where their family members were waiting. And this has been happening all around Texas. I do want to ground folks that, you know, the turnout rate has been just record-breaking on so many levels. And the fact that, you know, the leadership of particularly young women of color in Texas has been invested at such a level by MVP that just a couple of hours ago, I got off the call with some of the EDs of organizations that shared, we never would have been able to make this possible. We talked to not only Salvadorian voters, Hondureños, Asian Americans, Muslim voters, Mexican voters, but we had the team and the people that are from the communities making those conversations happen, driving people to the polls. And just kind of highlight, right, Biden closed the statewide margin to 6% of the vote. It's a huge deal. That's 1.3 million more votes than Clinton won in 2016. And that's an improvement of 3% over that margin. So just want to give a shout out. I think it was just like really transformative, the work that we did in Texas. And I'm going to pivot now to Nebraska, which, you know, Nebraska too has been our kind of cool secret that we've been having as an organization. So, you know, Nebraska is one of two states that awards its electoral votes by congressional district rather than winner take all. So basically, Nebraska 2 is in Omaha, which is covered by Douglas County, which has been really moving away from Trump. And in 2016, you know, Trump won all 5 electoral votes from Nebraska. And this time, 1 electoral vote from Nebraska went to Biden, which can be really, it's gonna be a huge deal at the time of the total electoral votes are counted. And so just want to make sure that, you know, for us, we were having this conversation about Nebraska wanting to invest, and we started calling folks that we knew, and we spoke to different friends and asked them like, hey, what would it look like to do badass voter engagement in this state? And the folks were like, you know what? Like, okay, we can share some groups, and we found some folks. So we have moved 600,000 to organizations, Black and Brown organizations, we're in a place where there was no national investment. And so these groups are truly unique and have done ingenious work. Just yesterday, one of the folks that was on the ground was sharing the power of the Latinx vote and how they were getting more and more people to turn out to vote who also similarly never voted before and were voting for the first time. So truly, we have done some life-changing work in Nebraska too, and I think we're going to be celebrating that, you know, in a couple of hours. So I'm going to turn it over to our next speaker, and thanks so much again for your support.
Awesome. And the next speaker is coming to us live from Wisconsin. That was March for Biden, and it's a very close margin, but we're really excited. Passing it over to our state advisor, Rima Ahmed, who's in Wisconsin.
Hey everyone. I don't know how I'm feeling. A little crazed, maybe similar to some of my colleagues who've been on the ground, definitely over caffeinated, under rested. But I'm also coming to you all from a state that like flipped back blue. Thank you. Thank you to all of, first and foremost, the organizers that have been on the ground hustling hard, have been doing work since the 2016 election cycle. I'll say a little bit more in a second about that. Thank you all, obviously, for the donors, for the investments and support. But some of the things I want to say is that Biden has gotten more votes than any other president in U.S. history. So as we're talking about this election, as much as it hasn't been called yet, we're still waiting for more states. I want to ground us in that more people have voted than have ever before in the history of Wisconsin. Like, this is crazy. And some folks may have seen like Trump's trying to call, the Trump campaign's trying to call a foul, like, oh, more votes were cast than there are registered voters in Wisconsin. And it's like, yeah, because we have same day voter registration and folks came out, they registered, they voted, which is amazing. Yes, the margins are close, but that's how elections are in Wisconsin. In 2016, Trump won the state by 22,000 votes. And now, Biden has won by just over 20,000. So when elections are this close, we know that every single text, every call, every knock on the door, email, lit drop, mailer, relational voting contact, like all of these matter. And that's where, again, it just goes back to the groups that we've been investing in. MVP has worked with over 40 groups this cycle all across the state of Wisconsin, and some really critical badass boss groups that simply didn't exist in 2016. Y'all maybe have heard me talk about this, or maybe you read about them in the news because they're that cool. Groups like Black Leaders Organizing for Communities, Lit Leaders Igniting Transformation, Progress North, Pierce County Grassroots Organizers, and then groups that have finally had the investments to be able to scale up in a meaningful way, like Voces de la Frontera, like Citizen Action, so many groups. I'm not going to be able to name all of our partners right now. And it really is a testament to the long-term investments that we are seeing right now, because we were talking about a progressive decade, a progressive 2020s. It took us 10 years to get to the point that we were in 2016, where the state went red. And it's going to take another 10 years of ongoing investments for us to get to a point where we are thriving. Our communities are getting their needs met, and our policymakers are actually representing our communities and not their own interests. And so I want to say that. I'll also say that what we're seeing also across the country is that it is majority Black and brown cities that are winning this election, that are bringing us these wins. And I don't want us to forget that. I think it's really easy sometimes when things are going our way for us to gloss over what it has taken and on whose backs this election has come. And so I want to make sure that we understand that, from Milwaukee to Philly to Detroit, more and so many more cities that I'm just not remembering right now. It really is these majority cities that are deciding the election. And the way that MVP is supporting groups in those cities by following the lead of BIPOC leaders and their organizations is really critical to these wins. What else do I want to say? Gosh. I had something and I'm honestly losing steam. I wanted to talk about actually one of our partners, Voces de la Frontera, which I've mentioned before and y'all know. They were sharing with me just like some stories. This kind of like resonates with some of the stuff you were saying, Caro and Corina, before me too, about some of the folks who voted for the very first time this election cycle. And something that our partner Vosis shared is that there was one of their RVP, the Relation of Voting Program leaders, who is a documented person, so themselves is not able to vote. They organized over 120 voters, just them, through building relationships and telling their story and encouraging people and explaining what's at stake in this election. They got over 120 people to vote in this election. So just that it matters when we invest in relationships, when we invest in organizations that prioritize building relationships and that exist inside and outside of election cycles, that this is how we make policy wins and are actually getting building real people power. So I'll stop there. But thank you again, everyone, for your investments, your support, and let's keep at it, because we know that it's going to take continuing to invest in these communities and our organizations and these states for us to build out that progressive 2020s.
Thank you so much, Rima, for that report out from the state of Wisconsin. We are now going to go ahead and go over to Michigan and hear from Jamila, who's on the ground out and about still with everything happening in the state.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear? Sorry, I'm outside.
Yes,
Is it
we
okay?
can.
Okay. Hi. So it sounds like we just called Michigan for Biden, which is very exciting. There were tears here when we heard it, and honestly, Jason probably could put some more information in the chat about the details of how we're doing. I think we're at something like 5.4 million votes across the state, which is super exciting. And maybe last time I checked, Gary Peters was up, but I know that's going to be a tougher row to hoe. So Jason, maybe you can tell people. I am here at a Count Every Vote rally that just set off to march down our main street. So folks are very focused on ensuring that this victory sticks. The Trump campaign has already filed a lawsuit saying that they were denied meaningful access, which is garbage, because I was at our convention center all night until 5 a.m. with a ton of our,
Hey, can I break in for a second? I feel like your mic is scraping against your mask or something. We're hearing a loud scraping.
I think it's the wind. Is it better?
A little bit. Just make sure to talk right into the mic. We want to hear every word.
Okay. Let me try to go somewhere where there's less wind. I'm moving while I'm talking. So we were at our convention center. Sorry, very windy. All night. There were 150 GOP challengers.
Jamila, you went on mute.
I think you're on mute now.
No, it was just somebody calling me. That showed up at our convention center to try to throw out ballots to show up in the blackest city in the country and try to one by one throw out ballots that we all looked and saw, and it was clear what people were marking. It was clear what they were trying to do, and people were sitting there and saying things like, "The intent of this voter is not clear, and I challenge it." And it was absolute garbage until 5 a.m. They're down there now, pounding on the glass and demanding to be let in, even though they've capped the number of people that can be in there because of COVID restrictions, and there's already a ton of people challenging, and so they're trying to start a riot, essentially. And so, yeah, basically we are going to try to defend this election to the end. And there were a ton of groups that made this work, from small new people of color groups that had never done election work before in Detroit to suburban moms in Oakland County and Macomb who were fed up after 2016, and they all showed up last night at 2 a.m. It was an amazing rainbow of like our DSA folks and our Femmes for Dems, who are like moms in the wealthiest county in Michigan, all trying to ensure that the 400 largely older Black women who were risking their lives to count hundreds of thousands of ballots last night were not intimidated. So thank you all for everything you did to make this happen. And let's defend this win now. And sorry for the wind.
Thank you so much, Jamila. And we know you are also and have been out there doing all of this amazing work. So shout out. It's almost there, y'all. This is the home stretch, and we will be counting all of the votes. That's our top line messaging, making sure that everybody gets represented. And what we're seeing is that with those votes coming in, we are definitely winning. Another state that's up in the air right now, but holding on strong and not up in the air. Oh no, okay, I'm just gonna not talk anymore, just kidding. Another great state where there's been some amazing organizing happening and good stuff has been Pennsylvania, and I'm gonna pass it over to Katie Zip, our state advisor for the state.
Thank you so much, Myrna. And just to be clear, obviously Pennsylvania has not been called yet. I'm just saying it's not up in the air because there are 1 million votes left to cast, but left to be counted in Pennsylvania. And Biden has been picking up the mail vote 3-1. So, everybody, obviously, I've said this on other calls. We waited 4 years to vote this dude out of office. We can wait 4 days to make sure that every single person's vote is counted. We have, but we project that Biden will have a margin of somewhere between 50 to 100,000 votes coming out of the Pennsylvania election once the entire count is finished. And I am just talking about votes that arrived by election day. We might have a Supreme Court case over whether or not we are allowed to count the votes that come in between today and Friday, because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said you got to count those votes. The US Supreme Court has twice refused to take up that case. And now the Republicans are going back and with Amy Coney Barrett may try to disenfranchise the people who voted and counted on the US Postal Service to get their mail to the place where it needed to be on time. And, we're denied that vote because of the Trump malfeasance, but we are going to win the state of Pennsylvania for Joe Biden. And I just want everybody on this call to have as much confidence about that as I do. Like everybody, I texted some of the other state advisors and I was like, if I start babbling, just have somebody cut off my mic, because I also am exhausted and haven't had a day off in 3 weeks and have drank way too much coffee and am probably going to get into the babbling part soon. But one thing that I just wanted to say, and obviously thank you to all of the MVP donors and everybody on the MVP team who made this possible. But as I was getting ready to think about what I was going to talk about today, I was just thinking about the groups that have just really come into existence in the last 2 years that we've been funding. And then I started thinking about how many of our groups didn't exist in the 2016 cycle. And then that kind of led me down the barrel of thinking about Karina's progressive decade in Arizona and the reality is, I think there are only 4 or 6 of the groups that we fund right now that existed in Pennsylvania in 2010. And the fact that MVP has made such an investment in the state has really amped up our capacity and our organizing. There's going to be bad news coming out of Philly today. And so I want to inoculate people against that, because to be 100% honest, we're not getting a full vote count in Pennsylvania probably until Thursday or Friday. But last week, the Philadelphia police murdered a Black man in front of his family, and an uprising started as a result of that. And today at 5:30 p.m., the body cam footage from that shooting is going to be released, as well as the tape of the 911 call. And we are again going to see, I am quite confident, angry Philadelphians who feel like no matter who they vote for, they don't get the representation that they deserve, which is that if they call an ambulance, they shouldn't be shot to death, honestly. those folks are angry and they're going to come back out in the street. And, you know, to be honest, Trump is going to use it as an excuse to try and crack down on the vote count in Philly. And Pennsylvanians across the state came out today and did rallies to say every single vote of ours should be counted. They're going to be in the streets on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and beyond that if we need them to. And this is the exact purpose for which MVP earlier this year said we need a defend the election fund that isn't going to go to any state specifically. It's going to go to whatever groups in whatever states need it to make sure that we defend the $100 million that we poured into winning this election, the blood, sweat, and tear of every organizer who like cried last night, even in victory, because it feels so defeating to win and still have to live with this kind of oppression. In closing, I just want to I want to get back a little bit to talk about a group that we helped start this year, which is a Philly group called APIPA, Asian Pacific Islander Political Alliance. It's the first C4 organization that has been come into existence in Pennsylvania merely to or primarily to organize the Asian Pacific Islander community. MVP was their first funder. They started, they like incorporated in the spring, but because of the pandemic and everything else that was going on, they really didn't do a lot of work in the primary. So this presidential election was the presidential election in which they ran their first GOTV operation. That group, in addition to the fact that they were running their first grassroots GOTV operation, their co-executive director was arrested in Philadelphia 2 weeks ago because she helped lead a protest in Virginia on the, in front of the house of the new ICE director. So the police from Philadelphia honored a warrant from Virginia to arrest her for trespassing, meaning she left a sign on that dude's front lawn. So this group has gone through an enormous amount of struggle this year. And I'm sorry that this is a triggering conversation for people for whom it is triggering. Rima, I'm looking at you and I'm just like, I feel so bad that you have to listen to this story because it hurts me to tell it, but people need to hear it. But APIPA, they overcame all of these obstacles and they recruited 1,400 members of their community to do volunteer shifts for the election. They made 1.3 million phone calls in 10 different languages to Asian American voters in the city of Philadelphia and in the surrounding suburbs. And they made an additional 55,000 calls to do persuasion and GOTV with Asian American elders in their community. And that is the work that MVP has funded in Pennsylvania this year that is going to ensure that we win this election. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back to Myrna.
That's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Katie. And that's all what everybody is part of, being able to support, feed, and give life to some of the dreams that people have for their communities, where they can come out and organize, and folks believe that they can do it. So thank you, Katie, for finding these groups, for all the state advisors, for working with people and giving life to some of this work in these critical states for us to be able to see these awesome results. 1.4 million calls is amazing in this cycle as their first ever campaign. So shout out to them and to all of their organizers in Pennsylvania still doing the work. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Alayla, who is in North Carolina, but has also been supporting our work in the state of Georgia.
Hey y'all, I'm really just sitting with and trying to internalize everything that Katie just shared. It was really powerful. And I think many of what Katie just shared is why I and a lot of other organizers across North Carolina chose to be out at the polls for 12 hours yesterday. So I'm tired and exhausted, but I'm trying to power through, kind of in the presence of all of you. And it's clear that we don't know everything at this moment and that we took some really devastating losses across Georgia. and our other key states, like losing some amazing champion candidates and down ballot races, and that really, really hurts. I know we are all feeling a mixture of emotions right now: disappointment, anger, fear, exhaustion, which are all justified and valid. And I just really, really wanted to uplift that again in this space. I was checking with our partner groups in Georgia this morning, and while they also feel anxious about the outcome at the federal level and exhausted from all the work they had to put in to respond yesterday to wild things we've heard about in Georgia, like voting machines not being delivered or shutting down, pipe bursts in Fulton County, extended polling sites that were lasting until 11 p.m., and even voters that were being turned away at the polls for ridiculous and unnecessary reasons. I've also been receiving really good vibes from our partners about the possible outcomes in the state, and also celebration for some key local fights that our groups have been working long and hard to win. So where are we now right now in the state of Georgia? Unfortunately, we weren't able to break the Republican trifecta in Georgia, like many of our groups wished for, and net the majority of House seats. And as it comes for the 2 Senate races, they're still kind of uncertain and up in the air. The special election Senate race is going to advance to a January runoff. The other Senate race between Republican Senator Perdue and Democrat Ossoff is still up in the air, as ballots are still being counted across different counties in the state. And when it comes to a Biden win in Georgia, it might look tough, it might be tough, but there is plenty of room for optimism and hope in the state, both for the presidential race and the US Senate race. There's at least 200,000 mail ballots statewide that still need to be counted in large metro Atlanta counties, as well as recounts in at least one county, Gwinnett County, because of machine issues that we saw. And 66% of all mail ballots in the state are from Black voters. And particularly in Fulton County, we still have about 67,000 absentee ballots left to count. And in the neighboring county, DeKalb, Democrat, which is a Democratic stronghold, one of the bluest counties and predominantly Black counties in the state, there's still about 40,000 that need to be counted. We also know that there are ballots that need to be cured. I got pictures this morning and texts from our partners on the ground, literally at 6 a.m. In Georgia, who were up early and starting to call voters and text voters to start the chase and cure ballot process that's going to take place over the next 3 days. And the really good news is that the work of our 18 partners across the state, groups like New Georgia Project, Women Engaged, Georgia Muslim Voter Project, the Black Male Initiative, and so many more groups have been building the power, and we're able to protect Lucy McBeth's seat in Congressional District 6, and more than likely flip Congressional District 7, with a Democratic candidate who is leading 51% of the votes. And there's also wins at the local level that we're I'm personally am very proud of, and I think our groups are as well, that are exciting and we're very critical to group partners' goals. The Craig Owens beat Sheriff Warren, the Republican incumbent who had been in the seat since literally 2003 in Cobb County, and Owens will be the first Black sheriff in Cobb County history. We also saw the same in Gwinnett, the race to replace longtime Republican Sheriff Conway. And I just want to say that this is super critical and was a major goal for our partners, because our leaders know that when we elect sheriffs who are willing to pass pro-immigrant and anti-incarceration policies, it could have a really huge impact in immigrant, Black, Brown, LGBTQI+ communities in these particular Georgia counties. Additionally, we won Gwinnett's DA race and flipped Cobb's DA race. Our partner groups in Georgia worked long and hard. They mobilized thousands of volunteers, sent thousands of texts, and organized hundreds of phone banks, reaching over 2 million voters to win these key local races. And that deserves to be uplifted and deserves to be celebrated. Also, Georgia voters voted yes for 3 exciting ballot measures, which is absolutely amazing. These amendments include dedicating all taxes or fees to the specific programs that they were imposed for. They allow residents to sue their state or local governments if they believe that a particular law was unconstitutional, and allows nonprofits that provide low-income housing to spend more of their money and funding on repairing and building homes rather than on property tax. So another major critical win. So that's just a snapshot of where we are now and some of our losses and wins. And I think the last thing I really wanted to end with is offering a little of what I'm hoping for the kind of story and narrative that will be told from this election season. I really want us to be careful to not turn our backs on the South and the powerful and resilient organizers that have been building power and working to transform this region for decades. You know, we've seen young people, indigenous communities, people of color, immigrants, and especially Black women who have been fighting the toughest opposition and voter suppression in the country. And they help bring these record-breaking numbers of voters out to vote. That's the story that I'm holding, and that's the story that needs to be told as we continue organizing and preparing for what's to come. So I'll end there and hand it back to Myrna.
Thank you so much, Layla, and exactly for that. You know, the South will rise, and it's rising already, and I'm just really excited about all of the work that you've been doing and supporting there as well. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Regina, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some other wins in other states that we supported before we come back and check in with other state advisors.
Hi all, I'm Regina. I'm MVP's managing director, and I also work with groups on the ground working to pass or defeat ballot measures on a large range of different policy issues. And like everything else yesterday and today, we lost some hard ones, but we also really won some amazing policy, which, as everyone knows, I think is just more and more important for states to be passing progressive policies as the federal government is not stepping up to be on their side. And we have won things in more unusual places that you might not think we could win ballot measures. For example, Nebraska just banned predatory lending. Mississippi just passed medical marijuana. And then in some of our other states, we've had things happen like Corina mentioned earlier in Arizona. They passed a huge education investment ballot measure. They passed the legalization of marijuana. In California, we had a big criminal justice win with enfranchising formerly incarcerated folks through parole rights restoration. In Colorado, they both beat back a very dangerous abortion ban and passed their first Family and Medical Leave Act through a ballot measure. And Florida managed, despite everything else going on, to raise the wage to $15 an hour, among other things. And so in addition to candidates, there's a ton of direct policy fights going on constantly throughout the country, throughout ballot measures. Our groups are working extremely hard and strategically to be able to layer their work, that kind of work with candidate work, that kind of work with their ongoing work, and that kind of work with multiple issues that are on the ballot at a time. So really, really grateful for all the work they're doing, often very much in the background on those. I'll give it back to you, Myrna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Regina. Those are definitely some good wins and ballot measures work. So yay for all of the organizing that folks have been doing. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jillian in North Carolina.
Hey y'all, can you hear me? I am out in the field, so sorry if there's some background noise. There's a helicopter in the background, a news helicopter, I think, at the rally that I just left from, where a number of our partners are out in the streets in Durham, North Carolina, demanding that we continue counting votes, that we count every vote before there's any determination around, you know, how this election goes. North Carolina was a really interesting, had a really interesting night. There are some races that are so close to being victories for us. And as we keep counting our absentee ballots and our provisional ballots, there are some races that I'm pretty sure that we're going to flip back to our side that I'm really excited about. We also had some really fabulous local wins, and we're still, right now, Joe Biden is down in North Carolina by about 75,000 votes. And we have about 150,000 potential votes outstanding. So we haven't been officially called for Trump. I'm not enough of an optimist to say that I think it's going to go our way, but there's still a possibility. And as they say, it's not over till it's over. So we're still going to count every single vote in North Carolina to see what happens. We are waiting. Also, there are some results that we are looking at our state house and Senate races. We are likely going to gain, we have gained at least one, maybe two seats in the North Carolina State Senate, depending on the next few counts. The Chief Justice of our Supreme Court has likely retained her seat by an incredibly small margin. Our partners in a couple of counties, county commission levels in Guilford and in New Hanover County have had some really exciting wins at the local level. And we've elected our first ever Latino to the North Carolina State House by a margin of less than 400 votes. There are so many races in North Carolina where the margins are so small that it's clear that our groups made a huge difference, and particularly in that race in Guilford County, in the Guilford County Commission, in Durham County, where we had groups on the ground that we supported to do this really, these really intensive work around local races. And it's still not over for a lot of the statewide races. We're keeping our eyes open and watching the counts. We've also got to make sure that our provisional ballots are counted correctly and that we get as many votes in as we can. And we also are going through that curing process for the absentee ballot. So there's a lot still to be determined in North Carolina, but I'm really proud of our partners here on the ground and the work that they're doing. And like I said, we're already out in the streets defending the election, defending the results, and demanding that we kind of revote and that we get where we need to get. And we'll continue to be out here. We have another big demonstration planned for Saturday. So we'll be out in the streets and trying to keep it moving. And it's really inspiring. I ended the night a little bit sad, but now I feel a lot better. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your support. And I'm going to kick it back to Myrna.
Thank you so much, Jillian, and for all of the work that y'all are already doing to make sure votes get counted in North Carolina, and for all of the work that organizers have done there to make it this close. Really exciting to keep hearing about these small margins, because our people have been out there really working for this. I'm going to go ahead and also pass it now to Laura, who's coming to us from Minnesota.
Hey, Laura, we can't hear you yet.
Got it. Took a minute. Hey guys, coming to you from Minnesota. I'm going to be quick here and just say that it was an incredibly beautiful day in Minnesota. We'd had 2 really Arctic weeks, and then all of a sudden the sun broke through and we had this gorgeous election day, and we had the nation's highest turnout. 78% of eligible voters voted in the state of Minnesota. That not registered, eligible voters voted yesterday in Minnesota. Tons and tons of first-time voters. One of the things I was proudest of was that we had this amazing network of polling place defenders set up everywhere, especially here in the Twin Cities for sure around polling. We were just really worried about violence happening in our city again. And it didn't happen. So that's also something for us all to remember. Think about how worried we were about the shit that was going to happen yesterday. So that didn't happen. And I'm trying to remember to celebrate that as well. We kept the peace yesterday in Minnesota. And we've had a lot of right-wing supremacist activity in our state. So that was great. The turnout was fantastic. Biden won by 7 to 8 points. We're still counting. That's a 5.5 point shift from 2016. I think that's the biggest shift in the country, maybe, I don't know. But it's a big shift. Tina Smith, our senator, won overwhelmingly as well. We probably did not flip the Minnesota State Senate. So that's like pretty devastating because we worked so hard all across the state. We had that was like our big thing. We did flip 2 seats, but then we flipped 2 seats in the suburbs. Amazing people who got elected. So we elected actually some really great progressive champions, but then we lost 2 seats in the exurbs rural area. But a couple other seats haven't been counted. We have like a slight shot. We're going to keep counting votes. There's a lot of votes to go. Hennepin County turned out 400,000 voters, which is insane. It's even higher. Minneapolis, I think, is at 80 to 82% turnout. So that's all I'm going to say about that. It's a mixed bag here, but overall, like, tremendous spirit on the ground. We got the Count the Vote sweatshirts. We're ready to support our brethren in Wisconsin, who we are welcoming back, and Michigan, who are welcoming back into the blue wall. So the Midwest is strong. We're holding the blue wall. All right, I'm going to pass to whoever's next.
Thank you so much, Laura. And here at MVP, we dub the Midwest the Mid-Best. So super excited for all of those amazing things that are happening. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Roxana, who's going to talk to us about youth, the young people, the student power networks, the vote mobs, and all that goodness. I saw a map earlier today with a quick note that if only people that are 30 and under could vote, it would have been a clean sweep. So here's to the future and the awesome organizing that's already happening.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. I'll be pretty quick for a couple of reasons, but my name is Roxana. I'm the National Director of Student Power Network, and my partner in crime, Liwana Thomas, who's the National Director of Vote Mob, couldn't be here. So I'm gonna rep both of us and both of our programs. So Vote Mob and Student Power Network are currently in, we run youth-led programs in 8 states, which include Maine, New Hampshire, Virginia, Florida, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Nevada. I go east to west. These are programs that either have been around since the 2016 election, or were started just this year as the pandemic was kicking in, and as young people were figuring out how to pivot and respond to turning out the vote in mass numbers in a pandemic moment. And I don't want us to forget that, like, so many of these victories really do come with the incredibly, like, sophisticated and quick ways we have pivoted as a movement to turn out mass numbers when it's incredibly difficult to be outside and be in person together. With all of that, any of the work that I rep is definitely, like, in partnership with all of the other partners in the states where our the MVP partners work, and where our Vote Mob programs and student power programs are. But our focus is really to be nimble and work with our partners and be in deep relationship with them, so we can add to their capacity. And so just yesterday, we have a lot of, like, pre-election day numbers still coming in, but just yesterday we filled about 200 shifts of young people, mostly BIPOC young people who were trained in vote tripling tactics, who staffed polling sites from 7 to 7 or 8 to 8, depending on what state you're in, and who were trained in voter protection tactics as well, either to de-escalate or immediately resource someone. And all I got yesterday from these 200 volunteers was floods of stories of first-time voters. There was a young woman in Tallahassee, Florida, who reached out to me and was just like, you know, I was thinking about Amendment 4 and what a promise it was, and how incredibly disappointing it was that the Florida State Legislature fought so hard to give people the right to vote. And that's why I turned out, because I recognize that voting is such a privilege, especially in a state like Florida. And so I think I just want to give all praise to young people and our partners like Sunrise, who reached out to 3.5 million young voters in this election alone. Just a couple of numbers. Youth supporters voted for Biden 2-to-1 margins. 88% of young Black voters voted for Biden. Like, they truly have carried the margins in every single state in this election, and, like, we have to give all power to them in that. And we're really excited to basically have, through these 200 volunteers, reached about 23,000 people through friend-to-friend texts on election day, and about half of those numbers are in same-day registration states. So reaching voters on this day that they can register and come to the polls. And we're really excited to be able to add that capacity in such critical races. And all that is thank you to MVP and the deep investment in Vote Mob and Student Power Network. So thank you so much. I'm a little over caffeinated if you can't tell, but thank you so much. And I'm really excited for what's to come. Yeah, and I'll pass it back to Manna.
Thank you so much, Roxana, for all of your work, and shout out to all of those folks that are still also out there demanding that every vote be counted. So this is kind of a quick update from our end about what's happening on the field and where we're at. As you see and hear from our amazing team. We're still out there, still trying to defend this vote, making sure that votes get counted, and working with our partners to continue to build on the wins that are happening and have happened so far, y'all. This doesn't end here. And I think one of the secret sauce's amazing things about MVP is that the election isn't the end game. It's the work that happens the day after to hold people accountable, to live up to the promises made. And that work is still being carried out and will continue to be carried out by the people on the ground, and all of the stories and folks that you all have heard from here today. So super excited to get back out there and win this thing, and continue building off of that for 2022, 2024, and really go into that progressive decade. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Naomi, who's going to tell us about what tomorrow looks like, and the day after that for MVP.
Hi again. I work with the best people, y'all. This team is so incredible, and it really is an honor to get to be with all of you who just spoke, and to be with all of you who are listening and responding in the chat, asking such good questions. So I just want to talk a little bit about what's next for MVP, right? We are at our core a funder and a capacity builder and a resourcer of incredible work on the ground that's driven by and for the folks who are out there voting, registering each other, driving each other to the polls, feeding each other at the polls, making sure each other's votes get counted, right? That's what we do. So our next step is making sure that we have enough money to help them do whatever they need to do. Part of that is going to happen right away through the Defend the Election Fund. We've already talked about it. Folks have been amazing in the chat, saying how much they're giving, that they're giving again. Keep it up, right? These next few weeks, we are going to need money to make sure that votes get cured, votes get counted, lawsuits get handled appropriately, that folks get PPE if we need to be out in the streets, everything that needs to happen. And then there's going to be a lot more work to do after that, right? Once the votes all get counted, which we are going to make sure happens, for the votes that were cast yesterday and leading up to yesterday, that's not the end of the road for us. In some ways, that's really the beginning of the road, right? On the electoral front, we know there's a runoff in Georgia coming. Our groups in Georgia are gonna take 3 minutes of sleep and get right back to it, right? And we wanna make sure that they are fully resourced for the road ahead for them, especially considering we know that, all the national attention from the other side is gonna be on Georgia too. And then it's really about stepping up for these groups to make sure that they can build on all the momentum that they brought in the last 2 years, right? All of these places where the gaps closed so much from 2016, whether we won them or not, we can't just abandon them, right? The last time we had an MVP call, I want to give a shout out to my friend Katie Stipp, who really reminded me that, right, these are almost all BIPOC-led groups, and that a lot of our funders are white, not all by a long shot. I'm white, and I really want to say that us white folks who are counting on these folks to bring it home at the polls, we can't just abandon them, right? This is critical work that we all need to be funding now and into the future to make sure that that progressive work, the progressive decade happens. For folks to be able to keep the relationships that they've built using the electoral funding we've given now, so we don't have to build this all again from scratch in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years. So we are also building our general fund to be able to make sure our groups are able to keep the folks they've trained, to build on the relationships they've built, and to hold the politicians they've elected accountable. So you can give online, you can give C3, you need to talk to us offline, you know where to find us. We take stock, we take wires, all the things, Bitcoin. But I just want to say, this work is so critical, and it's taken all of you, right? To raise the 102 million that we brought to the table this cycle, 32,000 people gave. That's incredible. And it's really just the beginning. So thank you so much. And I will pass it back to Billy.
Billy, you're muted.
Yeah, and we're actually probably going to end this call pretty early. I'm just going to say a couple quick closing thoughts to leave you with. And if there's anyone else, Myrna or anyone who wants to add in something, please do. I mean, my heart is just full listening to all of you. I mean, you know, what I was looking forward to all this time is like this election, winning it, and then hearing the stories afterward from all of you. And I can't wait to hear, I mean, one of the greatest joys of being part of this organization is just getting to hear the stories from our state advisors and network organizers. Like, I mean, I wish everyone could have all the experience that we have, like so much love that these groups send to us, and we wish we could bundle it up and send it all to each of you as donors so you could understand how transformative it is and how meaningful it is to like all these incredible organizers to have the resources they need to do their work, which should be a no-brainer. Like these are like the heroes on the front lines. Like we wouldn't not give resources to, you know, a nurse or a teacher or a, but that's how it works with organizing, which is nuts. It's like these people who are saving our country have to beg for money to just to do their work, which is makes no sense. And so, you know, in the long term, like my dream for this, I mean, we, you know, and this experience of really of abundance that we've created together over the last 4 years, you know, it's changed my understanding of what's possible. You know, in 2016, you know, we raised 2.5 million, and we're proud of ourselves, but we're like, God, if we could only have raised tens of millions more, maybe we could have closed the gap in these states in 2016, and that stuck with us. And we were like, God, we got to do everything we can going into 2020 to make sure this never happens again, and make sure we win this time, and make sure we do everything we can. And lo and behold, all together we raised over $100 million. And honestly, even that wasn't enough. Clearly, it wasn't enough. Like there's so much money that in so many places where if we had moved the money earlier, they could have built more. They could have built a lot more, you know? And I wish I could go back in time. You know, I wish we could have this level of organization and this level of abundance after the 2016 election, you know, so we could have started 2017 where we are now. And I just want us to remember this, what it felt like in 2016, the regrets we have for not doing more in 2016, the pride we have in everything we did in 2020 to achieve everything we did in 2020, and to dream about 2021, 2022, 2024, and the entire decade and beyond that, because what we've built here is amazing, and we need to dream big and take this really seriously. We can organize way more people and way more money even than we have now. That is within our power. That is within our capabilities. And that is what we're going to learn how to do. That's the next level of the game that we're going to learn together. And we need all of you with us. And you know, just like, you know, our belief is you don't treat people like voters, like, hey, you should vote. You treat every voter like an organizer, like Roxana was talking about with vote tripling. You talk to a voter and you're like, pull out your phone, go through everyone you've texted, text them again and make sure they get down to the polls. That's how we have to think about our work as donor organizers. So you are all you have been in this movement with us. Everything that we've done, everything we've collectively done that you've heard today was the collective result of everything that we've all done. And we're just getting started. And like, yes, take a rest, take care of yourself. Everyone is clearly exhausted. You know, we need to take care of ourselves, get some rest. But after you get some rest, and I hope everyone has a moment to feel really proud, like a quiet moment with yourself or with your friends to laugh and just like, oh my God, Arizona was a red state and now it's a blue state. And people did that and we helped those people. We got Trump out of office. We did that. together. We did that. Imagine what we can do. And there are going to be a lot of challenges we're facing coming up. I mean, with a Republican Senate, are they even going to let Biden appoint a cabinet? Like, what we're up against is huge. Laura's like, don't speak that. No, they've already thought of all these things. Don't worry. So we're going to have to fight for this progressive decade together. And we have built a great foundation on which to do that. And I want to just get started early, I want to get started early, and it's the day after the election. We haven't figured out exactly all the things that looks like, but it's going to involve building on all the things that we did successfully this cycle, learning from our mistakes, learning from all the ways that, all the things we can improve, and next leveling this because the movement needs it. The movement's ready to grow. They're laying off people, like most of the organizations you've heard about are laying off canvassers real soon, and so, Naomi said 5 million. I think that's a really good attainable goal we talked about to raise now for all the immediate things that are needed, starting with Georgia. But we need to, that's a short-term goal. We need to think big about what we can do and about what's necessary, and think in partnership with our movements, our local partners, our national partners, our funder partners. Shout out to Solid Air, to Way to Win, to Women Donors Network, to all the local fundraising partners, to Airlift, to Flip the Vote, all the incredible we have been rocking together. And honestly, we don't care what entity or what organization or network you give with or get, we're all doing this together. So, if you're part of one of these organizations, that's great. Like, we're all doing this together. We're all going to be, it's incumbent upon us to think big and to think more collaboratively and more creatively than we ever have before, and to be grounded in the purpose that Sid talked about at the beginning of the call. And so I just really want to thank everyone who's talked, everyone who did this work, everyone who gave to make this possible, and all of us together, like the collective greater we that's greater than the sum of our parts. Like, we're building that, we call it a movement, and we're creating that together, and it's a beautiful, extraordinary, magical thing. And defeating Trump is just first thing on the list that we're checking off. Actually, it's not the first. We've won a lot of victories. So it's like one of the latest victories of our movement. And I'm just gonna call it. Is there, unless there's anyone else who wants to add anything from the team, want to let people get some rest, be with your people, take care of your people, take care of yourself. We'll send out a copy of this recording, and we're going to keep organizing. And we're so happy to have you all with us on this journey, and we're going to figure it out together. As one of Katie's favorite organizations in Pennsylvania, we're going to make the road by walking. And let's do it together. Go team, we did it. That's all I got to say if anyone else wants to add.
Thanks, everyone.
Wow.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Let's own that win. And
Thank
get part
you. We're doing it.
Party it up in Arizona for us, Corina.
Oh yeah, I can't keep my eyes open. They just started watering real bad.
Sleep party.
But yeah,
more
Party
than
in
3
my house.
minutes of sleep, actually, like a couple days.
Tears or dry eyes.
yeah.
Real sleep.
It's so sad with the pandemic. This is like our celebration party.
We can see people on a video. Yay!
Yay!
I went to an actual staging location yesterday, and I was like, it'll almost be worth it if I get COVID just from like being in a place with humans doing the same thing.
Me too. By the end, I was like, I don't want to make phone calls. I just want to go out and talk to people in real human life. So I did. I delivered swag and stuff like that, so I could be in the sunshine.
Oh my God. See, none of us wants to get off the phone.
I don't know what to do.
I'm just hiding here
For the
listening
next
to y'all.
call.
I'm now back at my house though, so but now it's dark in my car.
I hope some of y'all get to rest and sleep. I know some of y'all are still out there and just like waiting, but also that some of you get that very much needed sleep for everything that
I'm off to talk to attorneys about fighting back against Trump's attempts to steal Michigan. So
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You all were amazing.
Now I
you
can
are
sleep
amazing.
without.
I think you know
Oh,
that, but that
thank
was
you.
just great.
That
Now
made
we
me
can all
feel
sleep
better,
without
y'all.
feeling guilty, like we should be working instead.
we have folks.
Oh,
we have
Jillian, I
folks on the
chatted
chat
this, but
saying,
we're wearing the same shirt.
Oh wait, what
Yes!
did the chat saying? Fight on?
Be a hero!
I was like, which one am I gonna wear? And I was like, this
listen
speaks
to
to me
Sid.
always on election.
Love this shirt.
Jillian, you have to listen to Sid. She's going to make you take care of yourself and have space, right, Sid?
Oh, I feel okay about it now. The
I don't
last
make
couple of
anybody
weeks.
do anything, Tom.
Yes, I know.
Jillian knows how to hold herself very well.
The last couple of weeks, I've just been like in this total like paralyzed spiral of should I rest or should I phone bank? And then end up like not doing either because I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
You guys, this is like the part of the movie after like the movie's over and they do the like
The blooper reel.
Is this the Breakfast Club?
Well, I think this is what I wanted last night, but it didn't kind of go like that. We were all too sick and disgusted and horrified. So this is good. We actually get to have our little celebration now when we're all feeling a little better.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check all the North Carolina numbers again because we really
never
need
know.
Our chief justice is only down 3,000 votes, and so I'm pretty sure she's gonna make it. But yeah, I gotta go check all the numbers and like
Drive
refresh.
I know.
Be
I'm
safe,
like, there's a
Jillian.
couple of Pennsylvania congressionals that are just like very tight right now, and I'm
Super
like,
tight. Yeah.
ooh,
I'm gonna go hit refresh for hours. Love y'all.
sounds
See you soon.
refreshing.
Right? Refreshing. Bye.
Bye.
Refreshing. Guys. I can't really leave. I don't know why.
because you don't want to just like be home and be like,
I mean, I am home. So,
yeah, but that's like the thing. I don't want to get off either because I don't want to just be like, okay, I'm just home and I want something to like do or other people to see.
Yeah, I can't just walk to the living room and say it's like a different place.
I need to give a shout out to Laura who helped us to get these hats and neck gaiters that said voter on them.
Oh, yeah.
Folks were loving it yesterday. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, I got to send you pictures, Rima. CARE Minnesota was driving people to the polls. So there's pictures of a lot of little old people wearing those little voter hats, Muslim Somali people going to the polls in a van with their hat and their gaiter. And it's very cute. It's very cute.
I love it. Yeah. Yes, please do send those.
And we definitely have a Philly Care voter that's going to be in the video, I think, who, it's not a great story. It's like a voter suppression story, but they were very accommodating. And I mean, I think the person that's going to got to vote eventually, but just.
Hey, I didn't say
a lot of
this
work
is
to do.
like a lot of down detail, but the one really big state Senate race that we won in Burnsville, I do think Muslim voters were the margin of difference in that race. There was an amazing team out there. And they pulled it together. She only won by a couple hundred votes. So I think all of that work really paid off. So.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do some write up on like the Muslim Voter Project. We had 3 close state assembly races in Wisconsin that definitely Muslim suburban communities were part of the victory for that, which is us being badasses. I don't know.
And the first Muslim identified state, who was it?
That's right. We have our
Senator?
first state rep who's identifies as Muslim immigrant person in Madison. So, or Dane County, I should say. It's not exclusively Madison. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Someone just texted me. Thank you. Another amazing call to buoy my spirits. Yins are so inspiring, which I know that Pennsylvania people know that is a Pittsburgh person, clearly, who's Yinzer. Told us where Yins are inspiring. There's still regional dialects in America.
I was gonna say, like, no one has yet texted you and been like, that John was off the chain, because they were a Philly person.
Oh my God.
Any of those do you have, Katie?
Leaf is telling us that just elected 9 Black women to the Washington legislature. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That is pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, and shout out, if you're still here, Elizabeth, who organized this call. So if you're not here, maybe you'll just who knows how long this video will go on.
I know there are 61 people still with us listening, so just so you all know that. I hope you realize that.
Oh, wow, hey.
Hi, 61 people.
Like a fishbowl.
Hey, Jody.
No, it's so funny because after this call, I have this like really awesome friend from high school who's like, I have to give you some feedback. Like, you know, they were on 2 calls, including the last one. They're like, the first call I was on, it was like a rally. There were all these people on it. And then the second call was just like a presentation. And I felt like it lost something, you know? So I was like, hey, can we do the next call as like, you know, the regular Zoom where like people can see each other? But we had already locked in this format. So we can't even see the people.
Next time we'll let you all be in the Zoom room again, right?
Oh, there's Alex.
If you want us to see you right now, I could promote anyone who wants to be a panelist. So just put it in the chat. I'm letting people in. I see Lisa wants to come in.
Oh, I think Tony was jealous. He's like, how did you end up?
Where you at?
Yeah, Tom got that secret in.
Yeah.
Ben is on too. Look at that.
Ben Griesinger, become a
Somebody from Germany.
Oh, man, from Germany. Oh, this is very cool.
Hey, Lisa Beam.
Oh, look, she's wearing her Movement Voter Project.
Ben Griesinger. Do you guys know Ben Griesinger? Ben Griesinger.
Yes.
Okay, when Movement Voter Project was an idea and it was called Movement 2016.
Hey, what up?
Hey.
Hey.
You guys, Movement Voter Project was originally like a small spin-off of Vote Mob. and Ben, I was like doing it from my table in Brooklyn, and I was like, I need help. And Ben was like, I'll come over write checks and help like what is it called? Do rental cars and Airbnbs and stuff. So Ben is like super original pre-MVP Vote Mob family.
And try to make sure Billy ate some food on between his phone calls.
Oh my God, there's Margarita. Margarita Garcia is my high school friend I was referring to, who was saying it's much better as a, hey Margarita.
Oh, you're muted.
Hey guys.
Hey Leaf.
What's up, Billy? Hey Rima. Sid. Wait, is Sid still here?
Leaf, do you and Lauren know each other, Leaf? Leaf is like old school Minnesota.
Oh.
But I'm actually out on Bainbridge Island. I've been out on Bainbridge Island for 14 years near Seattle.
Oh, wow.
See, I'm new school Minnesota. I've only been here for 17 years. So, you know.
Nice.
So wait, Leaf, did you get organized by the Seattle Washington
Sally.
team?
Sally Goodwin.
Yeah. Sally Goodwin. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you got me to MC 3 fundraisers this summer.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
wild.
Rima was part of one of those. Sid was on all of them.
Great.
Oh, Sally, let's bring Sally in since we just name checked her. Here she is.
Yeah, there she is. Come on, Sally.
Yeah, Sally. Wait, I have to introduce you guys to my friend Margarita Garcia. So in high school, when I wrote my first article and when I did Bomb Suburbs, my first book, Margarita and I were like partners in crime. Oh my God. So she's the photographer for Bomb the Suburbs, a lot of things. And then she became like a fancy, you know, person. And
Not really.
Germany, we haven't seen each other in like 20 years. Amazing.
But I have a copy of Bomb the Suburbs on my shelf. And I was actually looking for a copy of How to Get Stupid White Men Out of Office. Because I remember when you came up with that, I looked at you, I was like, that's never going to happen, Billy. I was like, stupid white men are going to stay in office forever. And you looked at me and you're like, watch. So I want to get on this call and declare in front of everybody on this call that I was wrong, that you did it. And I concede you are getting stupid white men out of office, one stupid white man at a time, and bless you all for it. So thank you.
Oh my God. We had this whole side conversation about the stupid white men of 2020 of like Cal Cunningham, the sexting guy.
Yeah.
What's his face in Montana who could have been a senator but decided to run for president instead. Like if the two stupid white Democrats hadn't done those things, we might have a Senate right now. It's like,
but we'll take what we can get one step at a time. You've had a lot more patience than most of us. And finally, at least half the country is convinced, like slightly more than half. And, we can always secede. I moved to Germany, you guys. That's what I actually did. I moved to the center of Nazi Germany. I live in Weimar, where I teach at the Bauhaus, because everybody here knows what Nazis are and hate them.
hey, do you want to organize like a Germany expat version of MVP?
I have been starting. So yes, everybody here is ready to go already. And yeah, I can round up the Americans. They were begging for places to be last night. They've donated. I've been posting the links. You know me once I get started. Like I look at you and I'm like, what you doing now, Billy? But once I see the ball moving, I'm all in. So I'm all in. Let me know. We can get the expat vote. We delivered ballots. Like we were scanning people's signatures, making sure nobody's ballots were naked. And we all got our ballots in on October 1 because we knew that it would take Germany 2 days to get them to the United States and 29 days for the United States Post Office to get them to. My ballot left Germany on October 1, got to like New York or Rhode Island 2 days later, which is as far as Germany could track it. And it got to California 30 days later.
Holy shit.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So that's the level of suppression we're talking about.
Wow.
So I can't even imagine. The people from Wisconsin who we helped organize had to send their ballots in. They were sending them in as soon as they got them. And then they found out about last week that they got through. So yeah, the post office is complicit. The Republicans are complicit. It's not even.
We got to get nationwide mail-in voting or get every single state that has a friendly legislature to pass it as quickly as possible. We've had it here in Washington State for like 15 years and it looks great.
Yeah, but I mean, California will track it. But we also need to deal with the post office problem and the fact that all of those ballots just went missing.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, we need to deal with, oh, I can't even start. I mean, the level of suppression on every level is just unprecedented.
We've
So,
got to win the Senate come hell or high water somehow.
yeah.
Like Georgia, like all hands on deck for Georgia right now.
Yeah.
Because we can't do anything about anything,
No.
a lot of these things unless we get the Senate.
No. Do you know that Leslie Abrams was